In 1968, Mattel's co-founder watched his son play with a toy car on the living room floor. The car was a Matchbox. It was British, realistic, and it sold more units than any small toy car on the planet. Elliot Handler looked at that car and decided to destroy it. He launched a rival line out of California built around speed, fantasy, and frictionless wheels. Within a year, Matchbox sales in America dropped from $28 million to $6 million. Handler named his cars Hot Wheels. 3 decades later, Mattel would buy what remained of Matchbox, not to save it, but to own it. Matchbox started in a condemned building. In January 1947, 2 school friends named Leslie Smith and Rodney Smith, unrelated despite the shared surname, scraped together £600 and bought a defunct pub in Edmonton, North London. They called the company Lesney, the first 3 letters of Leslie's name stitched to the last 3 of Rodney's. Their plan was industrial die casting, machine parts, door handles, pressure cookers. Toys were never the idea. Jack Odell changed that. A former British Army sergeant and self-taught engineer, Odell joined Lesney that same year after Rodney Smith tracked him down from a previous job. In 1952, Odell's daughter needed a toy she could bring to school. Her teacher allowed only objects that fit inside a matchbox. Odell went back to his workshop and machined a miniature road roller out of brass, 2.5 inches long, small enough to close inside a matchbox lid. Her classmates all wanted one. Odell put it into production. The first Matchbox cars launched in 1953. 3 models: a road roller, a dump truck, a cement mixer, all sold in small boxes designed to look like the ones matches came in. That same year, a Coronation coach replica sold over 1 million units and gave Lesney the capital to grow. By 1960, the line had expanded to 75 models. By 1968, 14 factories produced 5 million cars per week. American kids were taking 100 million Matchbox cars home every year. Leslie Smith and Jack Odell both received the Order of the British Empire. Then Elliot Handler watched his son play with a Matchbox car. Hot Wheels arrived in American stores in May 1968 with 16 models, all of them low-slung, metallic, and designed to race down bright orange plastic track sets at speeds Matchbox cars could never match. The wheels ran on near-frictionless axles. The designs were fantasy, customized hot rods, muscle cars, concept vehicles. Where Matchbox sold realism, Hot Wheels sold speed. Kids in America chose speed. Matchbox lost $22 million in U.S. sales in a single year. Lesney's response was the Superfast line, launched in 1969. Faster wheels, more vivid colors, wilder designs. The retooling cost money the company could not easily spend. The models that resulted were caught between 2 identities: too fast for Matchbox purists, not fast enough for Hot Wheels fans. What finished Lesney was not the competition alone. Britain in the 1970s was grinding through strikes, inflation, and energy crises. Lesney ran 14 factories on British soil. In March 1980, the company announced it would cut 1,250 jobs from a workforce of 7,500 to deal with overcapacity. By then, children's tastes had also shifted toward Star Wars merchandise and the first home video games. A company built on realistic scale models of everyday vehicles had no obvious answer to a lightsaber. In June 1982, Lesney Products declared bankruptcy. Jack Odell had already resigned from the board in 1973. He went on to found a new company using his own name in reverse, Lado. Most of Lesney's tooling went with him. The Matchbox brand, its molds, and its remaining assets were sold to Universal Toys. Production moved to Macau and then mainland China. In 1992, Universal sold Matchbox again, this time to Tyco Toys. In 1997, Mattel bought Tyco's toy division. The company that launched Hot Wheels specifically to destroy Matchbox now owned both brands. Matchbox did something no toy car had done before it. It made collecting affordable. At a price low enough for a child to buy with a week's pocket money, each car became something to own, trade, organize, and obsess over. By the mid-1960s, Charlie Mack, a New Jersey collector who would spend decades cataloging the brand, had already started building what became one of the most comprehensive Matchbox archives ever assembled. Clubs formed in the 1970s. Annual conventions followed. Mac eventually wrote more than a dozen books on Matchbox, ran an annual convention that attracted 175 dealers at its peak, and kept a monthly newsletter running for over 40 years. The brand built a fan base defined by something Hot Wheels rarely offered: fidelity to real-world vehicles. Matchbox modeled construction trucks, London double-deckers, farm equipment, transit vans, vehicles that looked like the world outside the window, not the world inside a cartoon. That specificity kept collectors loyal through every ownership change, every manufacturing move, every corporate pivot. It also made the Mattel acquisition of 1997 feel like a hostile act, even to people who had never met Jack O'Dell or set foot in Hackney. There was also a class dimension to the rivalry that nobody in marketing ever said out loud. Hot Wheels was a California fantasy: muscle cars, flame paint, speed for its own sake. Matchbox was a British working-class toy: road rollers, cement mixers, refuse trucks. The kids who grew up on Matchbox were not dreaming about drag strips. They were pushing construction vehicles across living room carpets. That gap in identity is why the two brands survived under one roof for nearly 3 decades without one cannibalizing the other. They were never really competing for the same child. When Mattel announced the Tyco acquisition, the Matchbox collector community did not celebrate. The fear was direct. Mattel had spent 30 years competing against Matchbox. Now it owned it. The most likely outcome, collectors argued, was that Mattel would fold the line into Hot Wheels, or reshape it into something faster and louder until nothing of the original remained. Mattel promised separation. The two brands, the company said, would remain distinct, aimed at different audiences. Hot Wheels for speed and fantasy, Matchbox for realism and everyday vehicles. For a few years, the promise held. Then, in 2003, Mattel launched a Matchbox subline called Hero City, built around fantasy vehicles and fictional characters. It was, in almost every way, a Hot Wheels concept wearing Matchbox branding. Collectors walked away. Retailers returned the stock. The line was canceled within a year. The team that replaced it made a different call: strip the brand back to its roots. Realistic vehicles, accurate details, the classic Matchbox logo returned to packaging. The 35th anniversary Superfast collector line in 2004 sold out. The strategy worked, but it worked for a narrow audience. Matchbox had stopped being a mass children's toy and had become, under Mattel's ownership, primarily a collector's item: respected, stable, and small. The question collectors still argue is whether that outcome was inevitable or manufactured. Mattel reduced the number of Matchbox models in U.S. retail distribution, cut shelf space, and moved the line to end caps rather than full display aisles, exactly the retail signals that precede a brand discontinuation. Some collectors read those moves as Mattel managing the brand's decline on purpose, slowly suffocating it so Hot Wheels faced less internal competition. Mattel has never addressed that argument directly. In October 2026, a live-action Matchbox movie starring John Cena arrives on Apple TV+. Mattel produced it. The brand that launched with a brass road roller machined for a 9-year-old girl in a North London workshop sold 5 million cars per week at its peak, went bankrupt, changed hands 3 times, and survived Mattel's own attempts to reshape it. That brand now gets a Hollywood production with a 9-figure budget and a promotional campaign that will reach more people in a week than Lesney reached in its entire first decade. Jack O'Dell died in 2007, not knowing any of this was coming. He built the first Matchbox car to keep his daughter out of trouble, charged pocket money for it, and accidentally built the world's largest toy car company in the process. Mattel now owns the story, the tooling, the trademark, and the movie rights. What Mattel does not own is the reason any of this still matters, which is that somewhere in most people's memory of childhood, there is a small metal car in a small cardboard box, and it cost less than a bag of sweets, and it was enough.